Hello, hello, hello. My name is Charles Davis of the God Principles, and this is my co-host.
I'm William.
Welcome to our channel. This video is going to be about what do Filipinos need to know to understand Afro-American men. Unpacking the baggage. I have to give a disclaimer here so that you understand the context and the content of this video. This applies to Afro-American men that grew up in America. White men come from a privileged class, so their experiences coming from America is different. So, and they do not share our experiences. However, the African-American experience in America benefits Filipino women. I'm gonna share this. Our empathy and compassion helps us identify with the conditions of the Philippines. Only a person who has known great pain can give great love. Okay, William, that's what we on. But first, what's been happening, man? We just did the Brothers in the Philippines.
Yeah, we just came back from Cordova Home Village. That was a kind of a resort that was out in the cut, guys. It was like a little small Disney World that was tucked away at a place that you'd never expect it to be. Just a great time. There was a lot of brothers there with their significant others. And, it was food, it was conversation, it was music. And it was on time to unpack, as Charles said, some of the baggage that we brought with us on the plane.
Well, not only on the plane, realize a lot of us have never met before. We've been separated for a few months because of the holidays. And so there was a lot of catch up that needed to occur, and for us to introduce ourselves, unpacking the baggage. We got to meet each other. We got to meet the significant others of other African American men, and it was a beautiful experience because we got to know each other as men on a personal level. Because this video is about unpacking the baggage, not only for African American men, but for Filipino women. What you got on that one, William?
Well, I think that, because of our situation being Black Americans or African Americans, whatever, African American Americans, in the United States, we were, we were behind. We were put behind by a few hundred years, and we constantly playing catch up because we weren't allowed the education. We weren't allowed the better education that gave us the better jobs. And sort of like, it's almost like running a race and they give you a 200-year deficit. And so we understand, if we're coming to a culture, how it is to be, a lot of the people in the Philippines, not all, but a lot have lived in poor conditions. They've never had a lot. And we as Black men understand what it's like to live off less. So we're very empathetic to that situation. So I think when we get into a relationship with a Filipino woman, we bring a lot of empathy, we bring a lot of understanding, and I think that we bring a lot of healing. But as Charles said also, whether we're willing to admit it or not, we bring baggage. And it comes down to the fact that the Filipino has baggage too, because anybody that lives in a subservient role in a poverty type situation they have baggage, they have pain, they have things that they deal with every day. But I think that we come as healers, we have a little more because of the difference in the money. And I think that really helps, and it compares with the Filipino.
Very true, William, very true. I heard this statement once that the African American man was asked to pull himself up by his bootstraps and he didn't have no boots. That was a powerful statement.
Yes.
Because I know what it means to come up out of poverty.
Yeah.
Just because you see me now, realize every day of my life prepared me for what's going on now. That means from the time I was born and everything that I've been through to get here allowed me to create the life that I have here in the Philippines. And from my perspective, I'm inviting a Filipina in to share this lifestyle. I'm not going back to poverty. I'm not. I didn't work too hard to get out of that. I practiced the discipline to get the education. I fought against the system, and I tried to be in relationships with women, and I know the scars and the pain of going through that situation. Like, I know how I've been excluded from certain opportunities in life because of the color of my skin. But I've also have had to deal with the emotional pain of trying to be in a relationship with another woman. That was one of the things when the brothers in the Philippines, we all carried that pain. When I listened to him, when we got to sit down and talk about, there was one guy, he came out of poverty in Florida as a kid. As soon as he got of age, he joined the service and never went back.
Yeah.
That's pain. That's a deep form of poverty. That guy's older than all of us, I think.
Yeah.
And so he has that trauma from pain. He said he ain't going back. It was just no. So that's part of unpacking the baggage that we did with brothers in the Philippines. But now there's a deeper level. You want to take this with?
Well, I think that one thing that my father, who was an entrepreneur, he started out as a house painter for a job, and he did the job so well that he started his own business of house painting. Everybody knew him in the town as William the Painter. I was known as the painter's son. And he never had, there wasn't no computers, there wasn't no laptops, none of those things. The way he got his money was word of mouth. Somebody would see the house he painted, the next person would say, paint my house. And so on and so on. He did such a good job that he raised his family as a house painter just by word of mouth. Back in those days, he did such a good job. And he had taught us that instead of complaining, go out and do something about it. And I joined the Army, and that's what I did. I learned to be content with what I had. But contentment, I think a lot of people misjudge that word. Contentment means that you do what you can till you can do better.
Go ahead and answer. That'll be cool.
Contentment means that you do what you can till you can do better. I lost my thought.
Okay, well, I'll take it over. We're talking about going on a deeper level. I come out of Chicago. My marching orders from my dad is, he said, Kenneth, I just want you to do better than I did. Okay? So that has been my marching orders that I was given from my family. My primary goal when I came, I wasn't even allowed to have a job. I was just supposed to get my education. I had 3 goals. I wanted to get a good education, a good job, and have a good wife. That was all. That was all I ever wanted. That was all I wanted. That was as far as I could see. But then, coming out into the real world at the age of 18, realized I went to college off of a grant. My parents couldn't even afford to pay my bus fare to college. I had to work. I still barely have the blisters on my hand from carrying books. And realized that's been 50 years ago. There's still a small blister on my hand from carrying all them books. But then there's the other side of that. Trying to be in relationships, trying to find a suitable wife. It's hard to be emotionally vulnerable See, amongst men, we have to put on this mask of being Superman. And we carry it very well, but we also carry the wounds. I'm gonna share some of my wounds with you. The first woman that I had sex with, I was 20 years old. She gave me a venereal disease. See, that type of emotional vulnerability, I've had to work through that issue. Or the mother of my son, she aborted the daughter. And I've never liked that. I said, I will not ever give a woman that type of power in my life. And I live by that. Because I didn't think that that's just not my morals and values as a person. It's not my morals and values to bring a child into poverty. I was raised that my responsibility is first get myself on solid ground before I try to bring somebody else into the world that I created. That's the one thing that Filipino women have to understand, that I've done, all of us have done a whole lot of work to create a lifestyle that we're trying to bring you into. And there's going to have to be something about baggage there. Well, you do share a good story about that. The airplane ride.
Well, I think that everybody has baggage. That's the one thing that we, and even in coming to the Philippines and choosing to be with a Filipino woman, we understand, and we always say what we're looking for in them, and they always say what they're looking for in us. But the reality deal is, if you're past 5 years old, you got baggage. All of us have things in our life that are considered baggage. It really comes down to when you get with a woman, no matter where they're at, does your baggage, is it compatible? Can you match baggage? When me and my wife here, Junie Lee, when we go on a plane ride together, we both take bags, but we compare bags to make sure we need to take 2 bags. And the one thing when we did have to take 2 bags, we made sure that when we got in our seats, that both of our bags fit in the same compartment, up and top of the seats. And you guys know that.
That's a good story.
Fly. And that's what you got to do in a relationship. You got to compare baggage and make sure that your baggage matches, or else the relationship is not going to be successful if you got baggage that doesn't match. And the other thing I would say is that men in general, black and white, we die in silence because, as Charles said, we come with this Superman complex. And let's face it, guys, we have emotions. We have feelings. We work all week. We work all our lives. And if we don't feel appreciated, we hold that in. The whole reason, I remember a guy that used to work with me at a brickyard. I was the machine operator. And it was an older guy. He had taught me how to run the machine. And I used to say, Joey, I would call him Joe, how is it you never miss a day? You're at work all the time, man. You're running, teaching me to run this machine. He said, I want you to come with me, young guy. Come in my locker room. I'm going to show you something. I went into the locker room, and up in the locker, he had a picture of his family.
Ooh.
He said, William, this is why. This is why I do what I do. It's all about them. And I learned things from listening to the older guys. And that's what it's about. And when you as a man do everything that you know how to do, and you don't feel appreciated, that hurts you internally. It's painful. And as men, we think to say it to each other that makes us weak. But when we were at Cordova, that was the things that we got to share. Yeah. We got to unload that baggage. And thankfully, a lot of us have found women that have comparable baggage. And my wife, she senses when I'm having a bad day, and she'll stop. She'll stop what she's doing. She'll say, do you want something to eat? Do you want a cup of coffee? Well, I'll just leave you alone for a minute. We can talk later, honey. And that's what you need. You need somebody that's a healer. Not somebody that's going to get mad because you're emotional that day, and they get emotional and make themselves a victim and start screaming at you. That's not what you need at that time. You need somebody that has enough awareness to understand. Just give you a minute. And to me, that's what I found here. I call it comparable baggage.
I would, you know, he and I talked about this. I call it emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Some people don't have it. Some people come to relationships with emotional brokenness that they can't even deal with. And it's like bringing that into a relationship, it would be really difficult. As a matter of fact, it can be considered a red flag.
Yeah.
That the relationship is not going to work.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that is that when William and I first came here, I told him, you know, I was working on a relationship, and it was like the cracks in my personality were being filled
Yeah.
with the love and care. And I could feel that. And it gave me a sense of security. But then her brokenness showed up. And it was something that she had never recognized. And so she said, wait a minute, I'm going through some things I've never experienced before. And that's what happens in a relationship.
Yeah.
You're going to experience some things because you're in a relationship and it's trying to be a loving relationship, and it's going to cause some emotional turmoil. And how you get through it, it's like I talk to William, I have people that I talk to, and we try to work through it, but sometimes it's just not going to work.
Well, it is. I realize that a lot of times we learn behavior from our upbringing.
Yeah.
In our household, what we watched, mother and father, if you had one, we learn how to respond to a woman by the way we seen dad respond to mom. My dad wasn't a very emotional man outwardly. He was an airborne ranger. He used to jump out of planes, so he was a tough man. He was a Golden Glove boxer. So of course we learned toughness. We learned how to box. All his boys could box. But we didn't learn the really touch your wife, hug your wife type side. We'd never seen dad do that much. He always felt that providing for the family was the love. I love my family. I'm gonna love my family by showing I provide for them. I give my wife whatever she needs for the kids. Long story short, I love my dad, but that was something that was lacking in me because I never saw it. So when I was in relationships, a lot of times I had to learn at that times that your wife needed a hug. I had to learn at times that she just wanted to sit on the couch next to you. And I had to learn it. And even now, I'm still learning that with my wife here. There's times when she'll just come in the living room and sit next to me and put her head on my shoulder, and that's all she wants. Yeah. That makes her day for me to allow that. And I'm realizing as a man now, we don't have to be Superman. We can be okay. There's nothing wrong with showing that you are emotional. You know, we got to stop guys trying to act like we don't have emotions. It's okay to tell your wife you love her. It's okay to hug her or ask if anything's wrong. So these are the things that I think that in the relationship that I have now, number one, I'm older and I've learned more. And I think I'm a better husband now than I ever was when I was young. So once again, it's comparable baggage.
Right. I'm gonna take a little break right here, right now. If you're enjoying the content so far, and I hope that you are, could you give us a like or subscribe to the channel? Also, William and I are providing counseling services for men that are having issues here in the Philippines, looking to come to the Philippines, and there are links in the description and in the channel header, because I heard that YouTube is going to start getting rid of the description links, the links inside the descriptions. We're available for consultations. The first one is free, but then after that we provide services that allows us to continue to provide the content and support this lifestyle. Now back to what the topic was, unpacking the baggage. My dad shared his dream My dad's dream was to have a brand new house that no one had lived in, because he came out of a generation where blacks couldn't live anywhere they wanted, and they were always living in old houses and had to be renovated. My dad bought that house. But he also shared with me this very important story. He said, Kenneth, my wife didn't meet her obligations, her financial obligations. She reneged on them. For 10 years, the only money I had left out of my paycheck to last me 2 weeks was $15. And he said he went through that for 10 years. He brought us into his dream. And he shared it with us through his love. Filipinos, I want you all to understand this. African Americans are trying to bring you into their dream and to share the love that they have, that they've learned, the love that they didn't get. And they've learned it over time. And I believe that a Filipino that can make that transition to say, wait a minute, William talked about it. His wife is very smart. He said, wait a minute, this is going to upgrade my lifestyle, it's going to help my family, and it's going to help my child. And they will benefit from this now that we're long gone. That will be part of our legacy. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you got some answers out of it. If you didn't, put it in the comments. We'll make some more videos about it. My name is Charles. Give somebody a hug today, because we don't do that enough.